A full week on the training field for you. That's something of a rarity recently, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. The weather's been okay as well, not too bad, I suppose. We had a reserve game, so it's nice to get on the grass. And although the 4G is a nice break and adds a bit of variety for the lads training-wise, it's always nice to get back on the grass.
I was going to ask about the game yesterday. Did everybody come through that okay? Anything interesting in terms of selection for you out of the back of that?
No, we've got a lot of games coming up over the next 2-3 weeks, so we felt it was important that one or two lads got some proper game time under their belts instead of just a training session, and it worked for that reason. We won the game as well, which is important because we want to win every game we're playing if we can. So it was a good practice for everyone to get involved in who needed to get involved in it. So training has been a pretty normal week, really, if I'm honest.
Okay, and I would imagine defensively, just because of the sheer number of faces you brought in there, trying to gel them all together, work out who's best at what, work out what the characteristics of some of the new lads are, anything like that always helps, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean, training sessions do that for you, you're right, but you need to see them in games properly. They've adapted well, the new lads especially, if we're on about those guys. You know, like Joe Lumley, Ryan Sweeney and Joe Partington, to name. Obviously John Burns not played a game yet, but he's played a reserve game the other day and he's trained. So it's important to get to know those guys and, like you say, what they're good at, because something we've been good at over the years is having adaptable players for an adaptable formation, an adaptable squad, and these players have to be able to do that, and we need to find out their strengths pretty sharpish, and their weaknesses as well, because, you know, as players we all had weaknesses and had strengths, so it's about finding what they're good at and what they're bad at, and at the moment we're seeing what they're good at, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess other than Joe Lumley, who goalkeeper's a slightly different position, he was brought straight in, but you've been very cautious. You've integrated them. You haven't chucked people straight in after they've signed. Is that a definite sort of plan in terms of integrating them slowly?
I think we've been able to do that, if I'm honest, because injury circumstances and things like that. So it's great that you try and chuck them into a winning team if you can, but if you've got to put them in for whatever reason, then you have to. But as it happens, that's not been the case, and the guys have come in at whatever stage and done okay. So, and they stayed in. So especially Ryan and Joe at the moment. I'm going to like Joe Lumley. They stayed in the team. So that's the goal for everyone, is to get in the team and stay in the team, really. And I know Joe Partington, that's not been the case, but he's got a bit of competition from Dan Ledbetter, and they're pushing each other, which is what we want.
And with Ryan in particular, a lot of fans I've talked to have been very impressed with him. I mean, he's still a very young man. He's got a bit of experience, but he looks like one of those who's barely going to lose a header.
Ryan's a good player, a young lad. He's had a really good start, and let's hope he carries on doing what he's doing.
Okay, very good.
All right.
This weekend, I mean, Bradford, along with a couple of other teams at the top, they've set the pace. They've been remarkably consistent, haven't they?
Yes, they have. They are up there. They're around us. We're not too far from them. They're a tough team to play, but it's a good week for us in terms of this week. You know, we've got Bradford, we've got Sheffield United, then we obviously go to Port Vale. But it's a good test. You know, where these clubs have been is where we want to go. So if we can get some good results out of the next 3 games, great. You know, we've got to keep moving this club forward. Obviously, the training ground this week, that's a real feel-good fact off the back of that news being announced. So if we want to get to where those guys have been before, we need to put in place training structures, training grounds like that for us to sustain that once we do get there, because it will happen one day. There's no doubt about that. I'm hoping it's in my time.
Yeah. And do you sense the excitement of the players? I mean, obviously you played Rochdale there, you were up in the top 6. You've got this run in February. Is that something that those players think, instead of worrying about it, it's like, come on, we can make some real damage this month?
It's a different kind of focus, different kind of project. So yeah, I mean, you know, Rochdale are up there. Obviously, Bradford are up there. Sheffield United are up there. We've got Port Vale, and then we've got Scunthorpe who are up there as well. So it's a tough month for us. And as a player, these are the type of games you want to play and to try and test yourself. And I think it's a big test, especially for the new lads that have come in, Ryan and Joe, because there's another step for those guys to prove themselves against. They are better players because they're top of that league. Not better players than ourselves, but they're the better players within the league. There's a few of them. So better teams, bigger crowds. So the expectancy is on them a bit more. So it's another test for everyone, really, even ourselves, because tactically, Stuart's pretty good. So we need to, as a coaching staff, we need to be on top of that ourselves.
Yeah. And in terms of the difference between being a mid-table team or being up there in the top six, to me, sometimes it's down to players. Some teams have massively talented individual players, but actually it's just about being able to do the good things 9 games out of 10 as opposed to 4, 5, 6 games out of 10.
Of course it is. Consistency is the key, of course, we know that. And as a player, you knew that, I knew that. The more times you play well, you're going to be in the team. It's that simple. These days it's changed a bit, I think. I think there's more of a rotation within the squad these days. Back in my day, you weren't playing, you were dropped. And that's how it was, and that's how I looked at it, and that's how it was. That was the black and white of it, really. Whereas these days, that's not the case. It could be the case, don't get me wrong, but it's not the case with us especially. It might be the case with other teams, other managers, other coaches, other clubs, but with us, it's all about rotating, getting the best out of the players who we think are ready for the project ahead.